Grace to you and peace, my friends. Rejoice in the Lord always, and again I will say, rejoice. St. Paul didn't write these words from Disneyland, the happiest place on earth. He didn't write these words in a time in his life when he was sitting on top of the world. Paul wrote these words from prison. It was in the midst of hardship and isolation and no small measure of claustrophobia that Paul wrote these words to the church in Philippi. Rejoice in the Lord always, and again I will say, rejoice. St. Paul was able to find reason to rejoice even in the midst of his hardship because he knew that Christ Jesus was with him. My friends, the next couple of weeks are probably going to be the hardest weeks that we endure in the midst of this coronavirus crisis that we're all enduring together. We're probably going to be hearing of a lot more diagnoses, probably some people that we know, maybe perhaps some people in our congregation. We will continue to feel isolated as our governor has instructed us to stay home in order to stay healthy. I hope that you're doing that. I hope that you're finding meaningful ways to spend this time at home. But as time drags on, we're going to feel more and more isolated. Perhaps our homes will start to feel like the prison that Paul was stuck in. And then, of course, more and more Sundays are going by when we will not be able to meet together for worship in person. Every Sunday that goes by that we're not able to gather together in this place breaks my heart. I don't know what things will look like on the other side of this crisis here at Oak Harbor Lutheran Church, but even in the midst of all that we're going through together, I find reason to rejoice. Like Paul, I can see some reasons we have to rejoice. First of all, we are staying connected with one another. I love hearing the stories of how people are sending notes and cards back and forth to one another. I know people are having some nice phone conversations. A nice phone ministry is happening here at Oak Harbor Lutheran Church. This past Sunday, I found myself, after our live stream, alone here in the building, a lonely board pastor without a congregation. And so I started to go through the church directory and just call people up and have some conversations. I had some nice long conversations with several of you, longer conversations than I'm often able to have here in this narthex as people are coming and going. So there's some blessings to rejoice in. I think that this experience is bringing us closer together in some ways, even as we are apart. Another reason to rejoice is that we're finding new ways to use technology. This is, I have to admit, been a kick in the pants to me to bone up on how to use some of these technologies that we have access to. And I can tell you that our outreach through these technologies has been nothing short of remarkable. It's been amazing to see. And these lessons that we're learning and how to use some of this stuff will serve us well once we're on the other side of this crisis. Also, I think another reason to rejoice is that when this is all done, I think we are going to have an even deeper hunger and a deeper love and appreciation for being together in person for worship. This online stuff is fine for now, but by the time we get over the hump of this, I think we're all going to be really anxious to be together once again. And I think that's going to bring a measure of renewal to our congregation. What a wonderful day that will be when we're able to gather together for worship once again. I'm already planning that service, at least in my mind, even though I don't know when it will be. A friend of mine posted on Facebook recently about a pastor that he knows in Eastern Washington of an old congregation there. It goes back over 100 years. And for their online streaming service, this pastor pulled out the church records, the church record books from 1918. And he held up that book and he pointed out to the congregation how many different Sundays they were in a row that they were unable to gather together for worship, because then too the governor had shut down the state. Schools were closed and public gatherings were prohibited because of the influenza outbreak in 1918. And the point the pastor was making that over 100 years later, now in 2020, that congregation is still there. It endured that hard time in 1918 and is still there today. I don't know how many Sundays we're going to have to spend apart, but I know that on the other side of this, we will still be here. So a little bit of housekeeping. In keeping with the governor's instructions to stay home in order to stay healthy, we will be closing the church office for the next 2 weeks. You can call the church office and leave messages. We will be able to check messages as the staff is working from home. So we might not get back to you immediately, but we will be checking those messages, so feel free to call if you have a message to leave. If it's something more urgent that you need a response to more quickly, feel free to call me on my cell phone. You can call me or text me on my personal cell phone. This is going to be posted on the internet, so I'm not going to give that number out over the internet, but you know where to find that number. It'll also be included in the email that will be accompanying this video. So even if you just need to talk, if you need some pastoral care, if you're bored and lonely and want to chat for a bit, please feel free to call me on my cell. I'd be happy to talk to you. If you need to leave a message, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Continue to check us out on Facebook and on our church YouTube channel and our church website. Be sure to be checking your emails. If you're not getting stuff from us, let us know. Check your spam folder to make sure that our emails aren't going there. I will continue to explore ways for us to connect with one another and with God as we continue to go through this season of separation. In the meantime, hear these words once again. Rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I will say, rejoice. Christ Jesus is with us. Be well, friends.